Hey guys, very excited to be here today at Alma's newest restaurant in King's Cross. Even more excited to be here with John Richardson. How are we doing, John?
Very good, Freddie. Very good, Freddie. And we finally got this rolling. And what I'm most excited about is that we're doing here at Alma and we're meeting Baha. You told me so much about, and there's a really interesting journey here. 5 locations, pre, post COVID, and during COVID. I think it's a really interesting business. And I know that Baha's got some very interesting insight.
Yes, Baha, the founder of Alma, is one of those really exceptional operators who has not only come from a business background, but he's brought it into hospitality. His growth mindset, the learnings he's had on the way he was ready to pivot, have that curiosity to change is basically second to none. I think today will be a great way for all of you to get inspired, to learn from Baha's mistake, and hopefully find how his key principles might as well be applied to your business. And above all, we're going to try his incredible food and coffee.
We are.
Are you ready?
I'm really ready. Thank you.
Cool. Baha, really excited to be here. Your newest location, stunning food, beautiful site. And yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
Always good to see you, Freddie. Good to see you too, John.
Really nice to meet you, Baha.
Likewise,
We did
likewise.
sort of meet once at one of Freddie's events, actually. And I've followed what you've been doing, and I'm really excited to have a bit of a chat about it.
Likewise. Great to meet you, John. I look forward to reading your books, actually.
Well, yes.
It's all rolling.
So, Baha, we're sitting in this beautiful shop. It's shop number 5, I believe, and it looks lovely. But
Thank you.
we all know that you didn't start with 5 and you didn't start here. You always going to start somewhere at the beginning. So let's go back a little bit to you making that decision. Now, I know you came from a finance background, and that always kind of fascinates me in terms of people coming in from various different perspectives of the industry. So what made you move into this industry out of finance? Was it purely a financial decision, or was it very passion driven? And you're a mad coffee, food, hospitality geek? Or what was your split?
I think it's a combination of a little bit of everything. So there's certainly financial reasoning behind it,
Yeah.
obviously. That's I would say 50% of it is. The second bit is there's obviously certain love, to create something tangible and being in charge and trying to do something of your own.
Yes.
There's certain of that. And lastly, obviously, this is a business, so it needs to be treated with a certain business acumen. You need to treat it with respect, and that's a general thought process behind creating something tangible. We wanted to move away from spreadsheets. That's what it is.
No, they're still here.
And now you're back.
Now I'm back.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, because you say you want to move away from spreadsheets, still approach with a business acumen, but obviously that's all fine when you have one site. You now not only went to 5 sites, but you've also quite significantly changed the business model, the concept, the format. You went from a cafe juice bar. You even said you went for some even shift working during the juice, because that's, I guess,
I was a juicer for 1 month.
there you go. So we have a similar CV in this case. But you went from the cafe juice bar concept now to a full blast brunch restaurant concept. I mean, all the new sites, apart from Hammersmith, are all proper brunch restaurants. What led you to this? What inspired you to actually go into that? Because it's so much more difficult, way more spreadsheets than before, and so many moving parts as well.
Look, food business is generally very difficult. Within food business, coffee business is very, very difficult because it's a very volume-based business. The margins are, tough. Competition is less. So, and it's also transactional to a certain extent. So, moving towards a brunch model is where we try to make sure customers spend more time in our venues, create more memorable experiences for them rather than it being just a transactional cup of coffee. Thank you very much. So that was a thought process, and that was a natural evolution for us as a brand.
Okay, but and that's obviously a beautiful idea. But then you would find probably a lot of operators now scaling back from coffee and brunch to just coffee and pastries, and I've seen this among a lot of our customers. Their argue is that it's just way too hard at the moment to run a full-on brunch operations with chefs, with labor, with obviously bigger venues they need to lease, food costs. All of that just makes it very hard to run. How do you approach this? Because what you mentioned is beautiful, but as you said, it's still a business to run. How do you overcome those challenges?
Look, obviously, brunch business, you cook food from scratch. A lot of things can go wrong. Consistency is more important than creativity when it comes to running multiple sites. And how do we overcome the challenges? The labor is very expensive. That's why you see a lot of bakeries being opened, so people operate from central production units.
Yes.
And that's natural, business decision. People, realize that it's a lot of skill involved. You want to maintain that consistency. That's why they adapt a simpler business model. We decided to, follow
Go against the wave.
go a little bit against, trying to, do things a little differently. But it's not easy for sure. And obviously, consistency always beats creativity in this market.
Sure.
But I think obviously you have had some very strong, maybe it happened slowly, but you made some strongly creative decisions. Because if you're making a decision to move from being a much simpler model to then thinking, well, I want to try and lean into hospitality to create an experience, we've got to have food and drink products that align with that. And of course, if you do this properly the way that you've done, where you've got very well balanced visually, texturally, taste food items, you can then charge to a level where you can start to overcome that that wage, that labor cost more easily, and get good margin into it. So you must have been monitoring sales and margins and what you could get, and thinking, well, we can change the model to this. We're not going to simplify doing, but we can change it so that this works. Did that happen slowly, or was there?
No, it's happened slowly. It's basically us educating ourselves.
Yes.
Without education costing a fortune. So
yes, sure.
We test and trial, we see if it works, we go up. If it doesn't, we scale back. So that's how we evolve as a brand, and we will continue to evolve as a brand. So the idea for Alma is eventually to go to more of a full-on restaurant.
Right.
But to get to that level, we need to be prepared. We need to know our numbers. We need to be in a position where we feel confident. I'm not going to go there if we feel we're not ready for it yet. So.
Yeah.
But the model that you're building out at the moment, you have a centralized production kitchen, is that right?
We don't.
don't.
Each side is self-sufficient.
Right. All right. Each side is self-sufficient. So do you expect that will be what you'll be developing out maybe over the next year or two? Or
So obviously, each side being self-sufficient, it means a lot of things can go wrong because
Yes.
it's a very human.
Yes.
There's a lot of human errors that can be made. So to remove that human error, people try to create central production units, and the way the math works with them is that central production unit needs to justify its own existence to supply to your
A lot
sites.
of sites.
To get to that level, you need to have enough number of sites to absorb that central production kitchen. Are we there? We're not there yet. Will we do it when we're there? That's also a big question mark. So we'll compare pros and cons and make a business decision then.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a lot of very successful clients and friends of mine from all many years of the industry have talked about getting to number 8 being roughly the
That's
time
about correct.
where you know the
That's
right
about
model. And it's quite common. I've said that to some of them. One who's incredibly good, and he's been, yeah, that's right. He's built out multiple chains. So do you feel like maybe site number 8, now, of course, you've been through very strange times, but you feel like maybe site number 8, you'll have a good idea of what to
Well,
do.
that's an old rule of thumb, 8
Yeah, of
sites,
course.
yes. But what rule of thumb was valid 8 years ago may not necessarily be valid today. So we need to reassess and see whether that number still stands, that's when spreadsheets come back into play.
They're always in.
But I love what you said twice actually about constantly sort of really learning, testing, constantly observing how the market changes, how certain changes in your business impact your revenues and how the data obviously gives you those easy to read insights. And I think when I talk about you quite often to other people, other founders, other operators, I talk about you as a
Me.
to multiple times. So John actually almost knows you, better than a lot of other people in that industry, I guess, just for our conversations.
I think we just discussed behind the scenes that it's very important to operators to be adaptive, to current challenges. And I'm very glad, by the way, at the time you really pitched, and I'm a very difficult person to sell to because in this business everybody's trying to sell you everything. And but Freddie was the perseverance was there, it was constructive support to his argument. So it took me a year to even sign up one shop for his platform. And one of the best decisions, by the way, that we have made as a business. So in a nutshell, I came to a realization that yes, loyalty needs to be rewarded for sure. It's something that I didn't think about, as you said, more of a traditional business model of the checks and give away some
Paper cards or something.
pay by card. So that was a big change in the thinking and something that I have adopted now everywhere. So loyalty, and I think the mindset you help us change that mindset of approaching customer from a different perspective, obviously, and you continue to do so through your innovations. And I think you being a very innovative entrepreneur yourself is something we share in common, and that's why we're always like test and try new things. Sometimes I test a platform and I will get your opinion even if it's not your platform, and we like those tech discussions, so to speak.
Yeah.
And to come back to your point about if you fail, you need to fail fast. Fail fast. I think it also stands in hospitality, because failing is very costly. Maintaining a money-losing unit is very, very costly. So you need to cut your losses short at some point. I mean, you find a stop-loss order.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
need to execute your stop-loss order at one point.
But you need the data to tell you this, right? Especially
course.
once you multi-site, you can't just work off a gut, of intuition, of
No, it needs to be
visual
data-driven
perception,
decision,
right?
For sure. It needs to be data, not emotional component to it, unless you're very sentimental and you're willing to subsidize it.
Yeah, this industry more than any other, I regard as doing an awful lot of emotional decision making going on in this industry. Whether that's this product is really great, but they don't look at how profitable it is or how it really sells, or that store will come back and that be okay. Yeah. So they make lots of emotional decisions rather than doing a big term data-driven decisions. Now, it's an emotional industry, so it's quite hard not to do those, but you have to do that data.
You have
and
to.
as you say, you have to do the stop loss. Think about so many other industries where that's just a core principle that they do more easily.
Look, I think any decision needs to be data-driven decision, whether you like it or not. I think the more business is managed through emotions and impulsiveness, the more likely you're to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
So you need to try to live it out through the door, and especially in this business, it's a difficult line of work.
That's right, because if you think about the challenges over the last few years, every year, but it
doesn't get easy. It doesn't get easy.
It doesn't get easier. No.
We get another big increase, whether it's rates, whether it's national employers' national insurance, whether it's national living wage, these costs come pounding on. Why? If you just are emotional, you just start complaining about the customers, about Rachel Reeves, about the government in general, about whoever, rather than thinking, let's make a data-driven decision. We are currently achieving, I'm going to make up a figure here, say 75% margin. If we could get that to 78%, 80%, that's how we feed that. Now, how do we do that? How do we test what we've got in store with the store so that we can afford to have people to do that product so that we can meet that challenge and continue to thrive? It's a very different way.
There are obviously advantage in every disadvantage, so to speak.
Yes.
You need to find a silver lining, so to speak, in the cloud. I think during difficult times, most operators are pushed to work outside of their comfort zone, test and trial things that they would otherwise probably not do, and cut costs there or try to be creative with certain elements. In a good market, you would probably not do it because things work. In a difficult market, you're forced to. Your hand is forced to try.
Yeah.
And there is a beauty to it because some things will work and they'll stay with you when things are good. Now, if you don't adapt, if you don't if you just do it your way, so obviously it's going to wipe you out. The market and the macro climate will wipe you out. So I think adaptability and being brave enough to make some changes, to adapt to current world we live in, it's vital to survival.
Well, I think if you look at the kind of arc of your business, the story that you've clearly adapted and adjusted through some really tough times.
I mean, 16, 18 was like this, 19 dropped, and then COVID obviously rock bottom. And so it was a bit of a...
But then so many different little problems, challenges, and opportunities through time. But also a really different level. It was remarking change in terms.
But I think it makes you stronger. I think it makes you stronger. You understand the market much better, much deeper. And also for us, it's not just, growing for the sake of growing. We want to have a meaningful growth.
Yes.
So rather, instead of pumping the numbers, you want to see, okay, is my brand more respected? Is it more relevant? Are we doing things better? So it's not just absolute figures.
Yeah, and I think there's a very interesting pattern. I see it just as an observer. Let me know if I'm wrong, but you've put a lot of attention to details in every part of the business. There wasn't a part where you thought, because I do this well, I can ignore the other one. Starting from coffee, the packaging, how the shops look like, which you obviously made a tremendous change and improvement from the original one to the current one. The food, everything here. It's just, you want to take a picture of that. You want to share it. You want to come back for this. Every single element works. And the same thing when I talk to you about looking into best ways to then get this out to your customers. Because it's all great if you do that. But if your customers don't know about this, if you don't keep them up to date, if you don't feed them that information through your social media, through your CRM, through your communication, through all these tools, obviously you almost cut the upside of all the hard work you're putting in there. Is all of this a strategy? Has this been a bit random or luck? Like, walk us through this, because I feel like we don't talk enough about the combination of that attention to detail and making best-in-class products, and then making sure that we also communicate it in a best-in-class way to your customers.
Look, it's a competitive marketplace. We're all fighting for customer. So what we're ultimately trying to give a best value proposition to our customer. When you come in, you spend your hard-earned money. You want to make sure the experience you have, the cup you touch, the food you eat, is worth your hard work that you have put. So that's very, very important to us from that perspective. Second part of your question was about
how do you get this actually out to these customers, because they need to know about it. They need to be reminded. These people walk to get here.
We use your CRM.
Well, that as well.
I think we don't use that enough, by the way. So that's one thing we should do in the next few months to come, to learn from you, because we collect a lot of useful data, but we don't know that. At the moment, it's basically just Instagram, social media that are pushing through we have done this is what we are. It's a one-way communication.
Yeah.
And I think the CRM aspect, without necessarily being an advert for Freddie, is the bit that fascinates me most about digital loyalty, and the fact that if you're doing nearly all other forms, lots of other forms of marketing, particularly social media and various forms of advertising you might have done back in the day, you're not quite sure it's working. Whereas if you do a promotion through the CRM to try and tell people about a new shakshuka or whatever, you've got the data.
Because it's a very tailored. Tailored. You're not doing the mass push. Right. It's very tailored. Your customers who like you, you respect, you're rewarding them, and I think that's the beauty of the data that you can work with.
Yeah.
From what I see within your business, you are making an enormous amount of small decisions over lots of details the whole way through. So I went and visited a competitor of yours.
No names.
It was great about 10 years ago, and I used to use it as a case study to show people how good they were at increasing average transaction, particularly at breakfast. I went this morning, it was a disaster, and it was actually a disappointment because they were so good at it now. So I constantly think about these things. I put it into 3 categories. Zone 1 is everything that you do to get people through the front door. Zone 2 is everything that happens between the front door and the till to increase the average transaction value, which of course is signage, it's merchandising, it's welcomes,
menu layouts,
huge amount of layout. And then Zone 3 is everything that you do to get that person to have a great experience and come back, which of course strongly ties into price. But I mentally do the checklist, and there are dozens of variables within each of those zones, and you have an awful lot of them ticked. Now, you probably haven't put it in that framework because the detail you've put in, I think each of those adds little bits of revenue, and then of course profitability, and
a little bit of towards how you feel about the brand.
Exactly that, and I think you've said that several times, but I think you're very proud of this brand.
I love it. I love the brand, and I think a lot of things that you have described, stage 1, how people perceive you from outside, stage 2, customer interaction, stage 3, the memorable moments. It all boils down how we as a brand make you feel, all these little details.
That's right.
What emotions do they create in you? Do they make you smile? Do they make you enjoy this cup a little bit more? So all these things, separately, they may be on a micro level. However, put them all together, they do create that experience. So it's all constantly evolving process. Yeah, it never stops.
Yeah.
It never stops. So the better I make you feel, the more likely you are to be a loyal customer, and the more likely, obviously, it will transmit into commercial return on investment as well. So it's
and on that end, and to flip it over, obviously, this must have come with a lot of challenges on the way. I think you're now in a position where you're looking to scale, but in the last few years, going through the same challenges that a lot of people go in the industry, rising costs, people changing their habits, what they drink, what they buy, how they buy. So it's not just walking to a store, but also actually ordering for delivery, click and collect. People being constantly on the phones, which takes away a little bit from that old school experience.
Yeah.
So and obviously massive competition, right? They get bombarded from every single side.
Huge competition.
2 questions around that. A, was there a moment over the years where you thought, I'm calling it a day, I can't do this anymore? And
Every
second
day,
of
Freddie, I
all,
told you, every day.
okay, well,
My wife still tells me I should have been in a different line of work.
okay,
Yeah.
well, keep going, keep
For the
going.
record.
Listen to your wife, just on this one, yeah, yeah. And second of all, how do you deal with this? Because I've spoken to so many of, like, we work with thousands of businesses at the moment, right? And everyone has a little bit of a different answer to how they deal with these tremendous challenges that are just being thrown at them right, left, center every week. What's your recipe there?
Look, there is no secret sauce or recipe. To me personally, I come from sports background. I love sports, so it's a bit of a DNA embedded in me. So the moment you hang up the gloves is when you retire. So generally, for you to get to that point, you really have to
Just keep going.
you just have to keep going. I mean, it's never easy. It's not easy for anyone. Have I thought about I'm in the wrong trade or I shouldn't be doing this? Yes, have it been more than one occasion, especially with everything that's going on at the moment. It doesn't get easy because it reduces your opportunities to do things, and it can create a sense of pessimism in a lot of operators, especially you're in all these WhatsApp groups and all you see is complain, and how difficult things are, people moving out of London, the whole narrative. So you're trying to find that silver lining among all those negativity to try to find strength and opportunities to grow and not let that get into you. So that's a bit of a mental exercise that I battle through quite often, more often than I would want to.
And you once told me that the one thing you think has been a key element of that success has been, turning these challenges into opportunities and finding ways how those things that look like challenges can actually play into your hands and give you new ways of grow yourselves. I would love to hear more, and I think this what you said is so interesting for a lot of operators out there currently facing the same challenges.
I think we briefly touched upon it. I think the old adage, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger stands. So if it doesn't kill you, but you tried something new, I tried delivery service with, for example, yourself, made us stronger, adds up a little bit to the revenue. We tried a lot of different, loyalty scheme, returns into customer loyalty. So you do need to kind of persevere, try new things, be adaptive, learn fast, fail fast, and you know, there is no secret sauce to it, unfortunately.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
So you know, we know the detail, we know the passion that you've had for this. We know how much you are also monitoring the data and the numbers, and we know reasonably well some sort of an idea of where you're aiming for in the future. What would you say are the two key principles, a couple of key principles, sort of non-negotiables that you are going to have in mind that you must have in place to move forward? What do you feel are the real essence of the?
I think do be brave to take calculated risks, not because every action you take is costly, so you need to take a calculated risk. Not taking an action is a failure by default. So as I say, you miss all the shots that you don't take.
Yes.
So that stands.
Yeah.
So I think do try new things because the world is changing very fast. Technology is changing very fast. If you're not on par with it, you have a competitive disadvantage. You're
You
done.
don't fear. People are very fearful of decisions sometimes.
Fear of decisions, fear of unknown, and if you think something works today, I would just stick to my model. Doesn't If something works today and you're doing well, it doesn't guarantee that you will do well tomorrow with the same model, with the same setup. Simple as that.
So, do you have another one? Is there something else?
Sure.
A real
Fire
principle
away.
you think,
Fire away.
what are we going to? What else do we need to have in place to succeed? Maybe get up to the 8 locations, to get up to the restaurant or whatever. What's a sort of a north star for the business?
For Alma in particular.
Yeah.
Look, we want to refine. Obviously, we started for a smaller cafe format. We evolved more of a brunch model restaurant. We now want to evolve to more of a all-day dining concept.
Right.
But that requires knowledge, that requires competence, and that's our ultimate goal. So natural evolution, so to
Live
speak.
and learn. You're still learning. Yeah.
It's always learning. The person who tells you knows everything. It's
They don't.
they don't.
Right.
It's a never-ending learning curve.
It really is.
It's just there are different levels to it. I mean, you may complete level 1, now you're at level 2. You complete level 2, and you go upwards and onwards.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
And if you look back at how little we all knew to begin with,
Yeah.
we'd never start.
They say all I know is that I know nothing, and to this day I can say all I know is I know nothing. You think I know something, I know very little. Depends on
I think
which.
you know a fair amount.
Fair amount, but I think I had that enthusiasm. So I come from a family of academia, so my mom is a professor, so that desire to never-ending quest for learning is kind of embedded. So I think even when I'm at older age, I'm sure I will still be learning, you know.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
you mentioned how you come from a bit of a sporting background. I'm always fascinated by that. Do you take any learnings from the world of sport into how you're managing Alma?
Look,
The business
I
in general?
come from a sports. I come from a Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I've done it semi-professionally. So that sports is it's not a team sport.
Yes.
So anytime you fail in the sport, let's say you lose, you tap,
It's
you
on
don't
you.
have yourself to blame. So it means you haven't trained well. It's not because somebody didn't pass you the ball. It's because you didn't do well. So if I relate it to the business, the way it works is if I fail, it's all my fault. I'm very self-critical when it comes to those. It's not because somebody did that to me or because I don't know the government put this business straight. Obviously that matters, but
Yes.
when it comes to mindset, I think I have more of that. Sport have helped me to create that self-critical mindset, and that I'm grateful for, by the way.
I think it's very helpful.
That's very helpful because otherwise you'll start blaming everyone for all the miseries in life. And
I think that's something particularly interesting amongst people who've done individual sports versus team sports.
team sport, absolutely.
And I think there are benefits to both, but I sort of thought that might be
Yeah, because in team sport you can say, "Oh, Freddie didn't give me the
Yes.
pass on time. That's why I didn't
Yeah.
score the goal." You know,
It's always someone else.
there was someone else.
But I think that's a great, sort of really summarizing what we discussed today. And then what I would love to do today, but also in our following episodes, is give every listener a bit of that recap, because I think we covered so much today. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the key things we should all take away from here is that starting a hospitality business should always be around passion and business, but the passion shouldn't really, overtake the business acumen, the business vision, and understanding
100%.
that you have a responsibility. So she said 30% passion, 70% we're doing a business
It is
here,
still a business, no matter how passionate you are.
no
It's
matter
still a
how you
business.
are. Second of all, whatever works today might not work tomorrow. In fact, it's very likely it will not work for tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%.
Just that curiosity, adaptability, being ready to go from a very strong view on day one to changing that view a month later, a year later, like we had a great experience. Turning challenges into opportunities. Yes, people drink more matcha rather than coffee. Bring it in your menu, bring it into your setup, be great at this. If you manage to be great at coffee, I'm sure you have the skill set, you have the know-how how to get there. It's the marginal gains, it's the little 1%. Can my presentation
0.01%, I would
That's
say.
right.
0.1%, can this be better? Can I open a new sales channel, right? Yes, delivery platforms charge a lot. Can I offer a better way to have people order rather than just say, I'm not going to offer delivery because I don't like it? Yes, brunch food business are difficult, but can I find a framework through different trials and tests to make it work? Because I'm able to not only create a higher transaction value, I'm able to create a more memorable experience. And I think at the end, this is like just keep innovating within yourself. Look for things you can control. There will always be external factors that will make stuff easier or harder, but it's down to you to focus on what you can control.
100%, absolutely.
And Baha, has been a pleasure. I've wanted to do this for a while because we've known each other for a while. I've seen your business grow. I've been obviously fortunate to support you in that growth with our system and to witness it firsthand. And I think your story, the way you think about the business, you work on this, should be something that a lot of people should study, look into. And well, I mean, I can't wait to celebrate the 50th site opening soon.
It's not the numbers, it's a meaning.
It's the meaning, of course.
Depends
But
how-
I think with this is that the Alma brand is being spread to even more people, and hopefully creates this really cool case
I
study.
would rather
for a
you
lot
hear
of
more
people.
positive feedback than about the number of openings.
Sure. And but I think what you build here should be studied, should be looked into, and yeah, very proud to call you a partner. in this.
Thank you so Fred. You always give that great energy, you charge people with a very big positivity. You energize people, and you've been doing it since I've known you for the past 5-6 years. So
Thank you.
big thank you to that. I mean, I'm very happy to see you always, all your successes. So thank you, John, as well.
It's an absolute pleasure.
So let's do this more.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.